Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. To all of you here tonight, to students and colleagues, friends and family, welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us at this incredibly important ceremony. I'm Nancy McEldowney, the director of the MSFS program, and I am so delighted that you are here together with all of us in this beautiful historic hall to pay honor and tribute to our spectacular graduates. We are here to applaud their heroic efforts and amazing success, and to embrace them one last time as they launch into the next phase of life and work. But before they launch, before we let them go, we will use tonight to mark their passage, to remember their exhaustive efforts, to include lining up to sit down. You're doing great, guys. It was fantastic. And we are going to celebrate not just what they've done, but how they've done it, and most importantly, how they are going to take their experience and wisdom forward into the future. Now, I think most of you know that the name of tonight's ceremony is Tropaia. It's an ancient Greek celebration in which trophies are given to the champions. And so tonight, we are celebrating our champions, the 92 members of the graduating class of 2018. 92 women and men from all over the world and all across the United States. You are people of different backgrounds, different cultures, different perspectives, and yet you came together as a community, a genuine community. You are scholars and thought leaders. You have formed a community of people dedicated to searching for truth and seeking better solutions. You have made yourself a community bound together by compassion and empathy, by striving for excellence, and by your unwavering commitment to service. Now, achieving true community is a rare and precious and powerful thing, and not many people are able to do it. It speaks to who you are and who you want to be. And if done right, it can help everyone reach a better version of themselves and a better way of relating to each other. And there is no doubt that this community will pay benefits to its members for years to come. So, as all communities do, we spent a lot of time this year talking about home and family, about the people we cherish most in the world, the people whose love supports and sustains us, the people who cheer us when we are up and console us when we are down. Those people that we talked about this year are the people in this room, the friends and family members, the parents and siblings, the spouses and partners and friends who never left our side. And to all of you, I will speak on behalf of the students here, because everything they have done, everything all of us do, is because of you and for you, even as we pay it forward in service to others. So to every friend and family member in the audience tonight, and especially to the mothers and fathers who are here, please accept our heartfelt gratitude and a very hearty round of applause. So just as we have students as one pillar of our community and friends and family as a second, there is a third pillar of this community, and it is the people who work here at this university. When you first think about a university like Georgetown, what often comes to mind is the long history, the beautiful buildings, the grand traditions, and those are all exceptionally important. But there's another even more important ingredient, and that's the people, the faculty and staff who care so much about this program and work so hard to get it right, the concentration chairs who spend hours teaching and guiding and mentoring our students. From academics to admissions, from faculty to finances, from events to external affairs, the leadership team of MSFS is truly the magic behind the curtain of this grand project. So please join me in giving them the praise and the applause that they so richly deserve. Now, it will be hard for everyone here to say goodbye to the class of 2018, but it will be especially hard for me because this was my first year here, and throughout this year, you all taught me so much. I saw the passion and the intellectual power that you brought to this program. On some days, I watched you deal with adversity and disappointment. And on others, I saw incredible joy and excitement. But on every single day, without exception, I watched you with unwavering determination, with a commitment, no matter how hard things got, that you were going to succeed because you wanted to do the thing that brought you to this program in the first place. And that is to lead a life of meaning and consequence, to make contributions, to solve problems, to be women and men who serve others. And that is why I am so confident, having watched you here, that I know when you go out there that you will do great things. But I also know, as you do, because you've heard it so many times, that it's not gonna be easy. We are living in difficult times, times of tumult and transition, and you also know that history is not linear and progress is never assured. But there is something that you are taking away with you now, the qualities inside of you. The knowledge, the skills, the insights, the confidence, and the humility that you need to make things happen. And so no matter what job you take or which country you work in, your legacy will be written in the acts of kindness and compassion that you make in your struggle for social justice and human dignity, and in your refusal to sacrifice your principles or your ethical standards. You will be tested, to be sure, and there will be times when you stumble. But as graduates of MSFS, you have an invaluable asset that will guide you through those tough times. And that is because every single one of you know what you stand for. You know what you will stand up for, and you know what you will refuse to accept. And with that, you are invincible. So you know that we are counting on you. We have confidence in you, and we are placing our hope in you because now, as you go forth, you hold the future in your hands. And we have placed it there with great expectation and also great comfort, because we have put the power in the right place. So to everyone here, all of the family and friends, the faculty and staff, please join me in congratulating the next leaders of our world, the graduating class of 2018. I now have a special pleasure, and that is to introduce our student speaker, Miss Maureen Reardon. Maureen did her, woo! Come on in. They all know her, but for those of you who don't, Maureen did her undergrad at Caltech. She spent 8 years working and studying in China before coming to MSFS. Over the past 2 years, she has been renowned for her leadership as a student representative, for her dry and wonderful wit, and bar set pretty high, and I understand for her love of avocado toast. As someone who worked very closely with Maureen this year, I know that you are in very good hands. Please welcome Maureen Reardon.
Good evening. This is such an incredible honor and privilege for all of you to hear me speak. And for that I say, you're welcome. Yes, Simone, I did. Welcome, everyone. 欢迎大家. Bienvenidos todos. Yokoso minasan. And assalamu alaikum. Welcome, distinguished members of the Georgetown faculty and staff, families and friends. Welcome to the huge crowd of people I've never seen before. I assume you are here for Catalina. Yeah. Yeah. For Miguel. Or that Kirsten made good on her promise to test the no guest limit policy, and did in fact bring the entire Yanish clan. This, I assume, means that the current population of Minnesota is about 9 people. A final greeting to all the unfortunate, unsuspecting people at my parents' church, or those that attend scrapbooking conventions in Southern California, who will be strongly encouraged by my mom to watch this on YouTube. Writing this speech was difficult for me for a number of reasons. The deadline was not flexible. I could not ask for an extension. There was no curve to make this at least a B. Not to mention, one of tonight's speakers is a retired ambassador, the other a current ambassador, and I'm speaking to an audience of future ambassadors. So, to the class of 2018, future ambassadors, world leaders, and tweeters in chief. Yeah, I said it. Lean in. When I started thinking about what I would say this evening, one of my classmates told me that in her view, these speeches are typically serious, enlightening, profound, and other adjectives as well. I am confident she crushed the verbal section of the GRE. She went on to say that in light of her belief that these speeches are generally incredibly serious. She was thrilled that I was going to be our class speaker because she did not want any of that. What can I say? You know me. And over the last 2 years, I have had the immense privilege to get to know the remarkable class of 2018. Yeah. This group includes journalists, teachers, bankers, Fulbrighters, civil servants from at least half a dozen governments, and members of every branch of the US Armed Forces. It includes a neurosurgeon, a freelance photographer, a cheesemonger, and whatever it is that Sam Dorsheimer did. We have Peace Corps volunteers who served in places such as Morocco, Kosovo, Georgia, Teach for America and Teach for China volunteers who taught in America and in China. We have classmates from the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Japanese Ministry of Health, the Japanese Self-Defense Force, and Shota. Yeah. As we have learned over these last 2 years, this class includes incredibly talented dancers, musicians, and Instagrammers. It includes mothers, fathers, and excellent planners of surprise winter ball marriage proposals. There are margarita enthusiasts, yoga enthusiasts, and in Melissa's case, simply an enthusiast. And let's not forget Enrique's glorious hair. It defies gravity, decency, and all sense of propriety. On a hot, muggy day in late August 2016, MSFS brought this incredible group of people together, these future leaders, to a farm in Maryland for a day of cleaning weeds, moving hay, and checking ourselves for ticks. It was perhaps not the most traditional way to start a professional degree program. Though, looking back, parts of it, particularly the poison ivy exposure, was good preparation for both international finance and for those planning to run for political office. And with that, we were off on a 21-month whirlwind adventure. Personally, I found MSFS to be a 2-year intensive course in humility. I would never be the smartest person in a room. I would never have done all the reading, and I would never be even close to knowing the answers. I was surrounded by some of the brightest, hardest working, and best intentioned people that I have ever had the privilege to meet. Among other things, it has required me to develop new levels of stamina, perseverance, and flexibility, which I believe is probably true for everyone, except for Anna Carroll, who is so flexible. She's basically a human pretzel in green specs. We have examined the intricacies of the liberal world order, researched and proposed solutions to the most intractable, including pronunciation, problems of our time, and we have discussed the subtle nuances between various forms of international aid, the less subtle nuances between economic sanctions and drone strikes. We have had intense debates about international trade and finance, and debates between those who hear laurel and those who are wrong. As anyone who has been in a job interview recently can attest, explaining what exactly the Master of Science in Foreign Service degree entails is difficult. Not as difficult as correctly pronouncing Amonit's name, but difficult. Amonit. Say it with me. Amonit. Oh. You guys are great, great crowd. Yet the difficulty of describing MSFS pales in comparison to the difficulty of living up to our program's core values: leadership, ethics, creativity, and service. In theory, these all sound very glamorous and prestigious. In reality, they are something different. Leadership is lonely and exhausting. Ethics can haunt you as you have to choose between two wrong answers. Creativity can be seen as threatening to people who are interested in continuing the status quo. And service is often thankless and unseen. We at MSFS have been fortunate to have one of the best examples of these core values in our Director of Academic Affairs, Sarah Kraus. I don't know where she is. She's a fierce advocate for students. Her door is always open. She helps with matters large, small, and sometimes a little bit weird. As a student representative, I saw firsthand how deeply she cares about her students and this program, and the incredible amount of work that goes on behind the scenes that none of us really ever got to see. Sarah, though this can in no way repay the dedication you've shown over the last 2 years, I hope you know how grateful we are for you. And I will end with an expression commonly attributed to the Chinese, for Hallyu, because I did not, in fact, talk about the Belt and Road Initiative. In Chinese, it is 种一棵树，最好的时机是10年前，其次是现在. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Or, as Al Gore would say, I told you so. This is why we can't have nice things. While I would not recommend saying this to explain to a professor why your assignment due last week still hasn't been started, are you okay? Yeah? All right. I think it is a fitting way to say goodbye for now to MSFS. I'm guessing all of you, like me, have things you still wish to finish and accomplish. Maybe you have things you wish you had said or done during your time here. I know that I do. Instead of thinking of this as the end of that opportunity, I think of this as a moment we set the foundation for the next 20 or more years of our personal and professional lives. I look back with great joy at the hundreds of stories that we have shared, and I look forward to the 1,000 more we will create in the years ahead. Thank you, my classmates, my friends, for your warmth, your intelligence, your compassion, and for constantly pushing me to be a better version of myself. I came to MSFS unsure of my abilities, and I leave it humbled and inspired by yours. Thank you for allowing me to represent you here. It has been an honor and a privilege. And finally, congratulations, my friends, to the MSFS class of 2018. Yeah, you can, but wait, there's more. It is my honor to introduce the alumni speaker for this evening, Ambassador Joan Palachuk. Ambassador Palachuk is currently the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs. She's a career Foreign Service officer who served as the U.S. Ambassador to the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria from August 2014 until July 2017. Her career has focused on the Middle East and North Africa, with assignments as Director of the State Department's Office of Egypt and Levant Affairs, and Director of the Office of Israel and Palestinian Affairs, Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli, Libya, Regional Refugee Coordinator based at the U.S. Embassy in Amman, Jordan, Political Officer in Tunisia, and other staff-level assignments in the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs. She has also served in Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. She speaks Arabic and French, and some Azerbaijani and Russian. Ambassador Palachuk received a BA from the University of Virginia and a Master of Science in Foreign Service from Georgetown University. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Joan Palachuk.
Well, hi everyone, and congratulations. But first, I'd like to thank Maureen for that excellent speech. I feel like, I feel like I know each and every one of you now. And boy, that was a tough act to follow. But having stood in your shoes exactly 25 years ago, I know what an accomplishment this is. And if I'd forgotten some details of just how challenging the MSFS program can be, I was acutely reminded of them when I sat across the table from some of you in March as you were sweating through your oral exams. Well, maybe just a few of you are actually sweating, but I know well how stressful that experience can be, and I'm very sure I was sweating back in my day. MSFS is a very special program. When I was applying to graduate school, I selected Georgetown for its very strong focus on the real world. Professors who are actually practitioners, lots of emphasis on internships, and a superb alumni network were what drew me to MSFS. But once I started the program, I realized that the focus on the real world was about much more than just the practitioners and the networking. Every day, in everything that you've done at MSFS, you have acquired the skills that you need to succeed in the real world. This curriculum that knits together theory, history, and current events with quantitative analysis thrown in for good measure makes you incredibly well-equipped to make sense of today's very complex times. And the writing and oral briefing skills that you've developed here are going to serve you very, very well, regardless of what you choose to do next. Every single day for the last 25 years, I've relied on the writing and briefing skills that I developed here at Georgetown. Since graduation, no one has ever asked me to write a 25 to 50-page research paper. But boy, do they ask me for 2-page policy recommendations, short issue papers, and quick oral briefings that need to get to the point fast. Those quick, succinct briefing skills that you've developed here are going to set you apart from your peers and mark you as someone who knows what you're doing, even when you still might be in the process of figuring that out. Take those skills and run with them. And I hope you all have mastered the art of speaking up, and for the women in the class, man-terrupting. I had the good fortune while here at Georgetown not just to study with Madeleine Albright, but also to be mentored by her as part of the group she sponsored at that time for women in foreign affairs. In class, but also after hours, as part of this women's group, Secretary Albright coached us all on the fine art of speaking up and interrupting when needed. She made it clear that there were plenty of times in her life when she regretted not speaking up, as she had spent crucial time wondering whether she should speak up and how best to present her ideas, only to discover that someone else, always a man, had said the same thing that she was contemplating before she could make up her mind to do so. That was an incredibly powerful message and is one that I've never forgotten. One of my proudest moments at Georgetown came when I finally screwed up the courage to throw my ideas out there in the midst of a heated debate in Secretary Albright's class. Unfortunately, I did it in a way that was really throwing them out, blurting my points in a way that brought debate to a halt. But Secretary Albright didn't miss a beat. She said something like, well done, Joan, and dropped me a wink before moving on with the discussion. Although I've fortunately refined my interrupting skills since then, I don't think I've stopped talking. And for all of you, but especially the women in this class, please keep using those skills, and please also pay them forward. And since this is a graduation speech, I suppose I should share some career advice. But since time is short, I'm going to keep that advice limited to 3 key points. First, do what makes your heart sing. I'm asked time after time by newly minted Foreign Service officers what they need to do to have a successful career. They want to know what that magic career path is that will make them an ambassador or whatever it is that they want to achieve. But there is no magic cookie-cutter path that leads to success. You will have a successful career if you pursue work that makes you happy. If you're happy, you're going to be much more likely to be good at that, to be good at something, and to want to do more, to innovate, and to lead. If you choose jobs that just because you think they'll lead to success, you will be miserable. Look for jobs that are going to be meaningful for you and that also will allow you to have a personal life. Choose happiness. Second, be open to new possibilities. When I graduated from MSFS, I was convinced that I was going to spend my entire career roaming through the newly independent countries of the former Soviet Union. I fancied myself as a new, female George Kennan. And I was lucky enough to end up in Uzbekistan for my first tour in the State Department, and I enjoyed it. But then, through the flukes of the Foreign Service assignment system, I ended up in Tunisia for my second tour, and I loved it. The people, the culture, the history, the food, the seaside, the music, you name it. There really wasn't a single thing I didn't like about Tunisia, and it opened my eyes to a part of the world in which I'd never considered working. I've spent my entire career working in and on the Muslim world, focused largely on the Middle East and North Africa. 25 years ago, I could not have imagined this, and yet I could not possibly be happier with the way my career has turned out. Be open to new possibilities. Third, treat everyone the way that you would like to be treated. That means being kind and honest. Say good morning to people and ask them about their weekend, their children, their pets, whatever it is that will create a human connection. You will be better at your job if you understand your colleagues' perspectives and they understand yours. You'll also be a better human being. And speak the truth to yourself, to your colleagues, to your bosses, and to your interlocutors. This means being honest about your shortcomings and having the courage to address them. It also means being honest about others' shortcomings, or shortcomings in policy or products. But in all cases, being honest means that you also have to be responsible and constructive. Provide context for your criticism. Why does it matter that something is wrong? And always provide recommendations for how things could be done differently. Treat everyone the way that you would like to be treated. Finally, I hope that all of you will consider a career in public service. We are living in incredibly challenging times. I'm referring not to politics, but to the enormous macro trends that are changing nearly every aspect of our lives. 25 years ago, I used to trudge to a computer lab to write papers, and I did all of my research using books, remember them? Microfiche files, and paperback copies of the Foreign Broadcast Information Service's translations of the Soviet press. Now, we all have more information in the palms of our hands than I ever accessed in my 2 years at Georgetown. And it's not only the way that we receive and process information that's changing, it's the way we harness artificial intelligence to do our jobs and live our lives, and the ways that we communicate with each other. How is that going to shape society? And what about the threats that know no borders? Terrorism, pandemic illness, mass migration, cybercrimes. We are living in the midst of profound change, the outcomes of which are entirely unknown. Public service provides a unique ability to help shape those outcomes, and for those of you who choose diplomacy, an opportunity to help build the bridges between countries that are essential to our ability to navigate this profound change peacefully. Your countries need you. Congratulations once again to all of you. And congratulations also to your family, your partners, your friends who are here to cheer you on and who stood by you through these last 2 years. You've made it through a very demanding program, and I'm sure that a very bright future lies ahead for all of you. Very best wishes, and I hope that I'll see many of you in the halls of the State Department. Congratulations.
Good evening, Ambassador Palaschuk. Thank you for those words. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and especially the class of 2018. I'm Nicole Bivens-Sadaka. I'm a professor in MSFS and the chair of Global Politics and Security. Turpai is an evening reserved just for our students, for their families and friends, and the professors and the team that have walked with these wonderful students for the last 2 years. It has been such a tremendous honor to watch how much each has grown, learned, and developed over such a short period of time. The world has changed significantly since you walked onto campus in August of 2016. And when you showed up for orientation, you showed up with passion, ambition, hope, and energy. And you showed up in the classroom, in events, in our community, and in the world, day in and day out. And now you stand before the world, which is filled with opportunity and filled with great challenges. And we see a world in which engagement and technology is lifting people out of poverty and giving opportunity and bringing peace and stability. And yet we also see a world in which insecurity and suffering and hopelessness remains the reality for too many. So as we face this world, you have an opportunity to show up again with the same passion, with the same ambition, with the same hope and energy. And you have the opportunity not just to show up, but to show up well, to lead with character and ethical intentions, to see opportunity where there are challenges, and to bring the best of you to the world. And now, as much as any time in our history, we need leaders. We need leaders who approach this challenging world with ethical foundation, a commitment to service, and creative analytical minds that will seek answers. And we gather tonight with great hope, with great hope in this group of young servant leaders who will do nothing short of changing the world. And it is now my tremendous privilege to introduce the class of 2018. Maureen Bridget Reardon. Kareem Abdel Latif. Keishi Abe. Kwabena Akweamoa Boatin. Gradina Belbarova. Karlski Belisair. Gregory Mark Bernstein. Elizabeth Blythe. Elizabeth, congratulations. Daneo Adanea Brinson. Robert H. Brothers. Gustavo Brown is not here, sorry. Steele Austin Burrow.
Thank you.
Dinas Alexanders Brutners. Maria Elena Candia Romano. Anna Carroll. Thomas Edward Chediak. Catalina Koppel. Diletta Cordani. Nicholas William DiGregorio. Rodrigo de las Casas. Lauren Elise Dahl. Samuel Dorsheimer. Kevin Doyle. Kayla Driscoll. Congratulations. Joel El Sawali. Enrique Carlos Enrique Minjares. Sarah Elizabeth Fasano. Daniel Fry. Sam Gerstle. Michael Edward Goodwin. Jessica Renee Gott. Amy Graydon. Vera Helen Green. Abram Henry. Thomas C. Hoffecker. Andrew Davidson, Ireland. Takato Ishida. Basha Jamil. Melissa Talia Karakash. Norman Kaufman. Oh, and not there either. Sorry, I know that you're not Norman. I do. Simone, Nicole, Kendall. Dustin, Andrew, Kearns.
You got it.
Katrina Nicely. Sorry. Isabella Swabomira Kopi. Yep, that's okay. You can get it. Jacob Kostrowski. Elise G. Hyun Lee. Carmel Lev. Rebecca Vermillion Martinez. Ari Masaki. Semenyesh Yekoye Menegesha. Gozde Masheli. Matthew Minji. Daniela Rose Montemarano. Amanda Gabriella Nar is not there either. Ayaka, I'm going to start to look. I promise you, I will. Ayaka Nojirli. Galia Norco. Obaidullah Obaid. Paulina Ortega Madrid. Altan Osler. Amanda Jean Casada Lubbers. Allison Marie Riuda. Christopher Rivers. Olivia Jane Rockwell. Miguel Octavio Roman Hernandez.
We should do a selfie. Very quick.
It's not what I meant by embrace technology's new usages, but Yusake Saito. Fatima Salman. Fernanda K. Sanchez. Jessica Louise Sheeter. Matthew Schwab. Laura Ann Schwartz. Katarina Vezvolodivna Sedova. Anna Maria Ilhami Shaker. Suhaila Sabai. Siani Nicole Smith. Kanchana Stanimurthy. Norifumi Takai. Amanat Thind. How you tone? You look good.
So much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Nancy Unclesbay. Sandra Wallachek. Bessie Watts. Weber. Nothing like getting booed by
Thank you so much.
Michael J. White. Michael, congratulations. Elise Laura Wilson. Dee Wu. Shota Yamanaka. We resume. Julie Yang. Kirsten Yonish. Huyi Zhang. Last and not least, Patrick Daniel Zimmet.
Thank you so much. Thank you, appreciate it.
And these are the women and men who make up the 2018 Masters of Science in Foreign Service graduating class. You all have many reasons to be extraordinarily proud of the work that you have done to bring them and the work that they have done to make it to this day. TRPRI is our opportunity not only to recognize individual students graduating from the Masters of Science in Foreign Service, but to also recognize members of our community who have made contributions to the academic and co-curricular goals of this program. Members of the MSFS community, please rise when I call upon each of you as we celebrate your accomplishments and contributions. We will begin. I will ask that you hold your applause. I know that's going to be hard, but I'm going to ask that you hold your applause until we recognize all of the different groups who have contributed so richly to the community that we love and know as MSFS. We begin by recognizing and celebrating the MSFS student representatives who are responsible for advising the administration on program policies and representing the views of this student body to the MSFS leadership team, to the school, and to the university. We also recognize the recipients of the Dean's Citation for Service, which are student leaders who organize fundraisers, community service activities, and social events such as International Night and the Winter and Spring Balls. Will the student representatives please rise and be recognized? Thank you for your service. Thank you. Georgetown also claims distinguished schools not only in foreign service, but also in business, law, and public policy. And MSFS collaborates with these schools to offer dual degrees with these schools and which provide a unique course of studies for those students who choose to do both the MSFS and a second degree. Will the students earning their MSFS degrees with the following dual programs please rise and be recognized? Master of Business Administration, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and Master of Public Policy. A great accomplishment. As a capstone event for the MSFS degree, students are examined in the oral exams that the ambassador referred to by a panel of faculty and practitioners in their final semester as part of their graduation requirements. Will the students earning distinction on their oral examinations please rise and be recognized? Students in the MSFS program may take advantage of several specialized studies which lead to graduate certificates. Will the students earning MSFS degrees with the following certificates please rise and be recognized as I call them? Certificate in Asian Studies, Certificate in Diplomatic Studies, Certificate in Eurasian, Russian, and Eastern European Studies, Certificate in Refugee and Humanitarian Emergencies. One more. Carl F. Landegger Honors Certificate in International Business Diplomacy. Contributing to the academic rigor of the program and in support of the research and learning objectives of the university, graduate students in the MSFS program are often engaged as researchers and teaching assistants during their course of studies. Will students who have served as research assistants, teaching assistants, and fellows in the Institute of the Study of Diplomacy please rise and be recognized? Contributions to the academic and professional development of MSFS students are made both inside and outside of the classroom by faculty members and fellow students alike. Will the leaders and members of the following student groups please rise and be recognized? The Africa Forum, the Asia Pacific Forum, Big Buddies, the Georgetown Anti-Poverty Society, Georgetown Journal of International Affairs, Georgetown Women in International Affairs, Hoya Circles, the Latin American Graduate Organization, the Middle East and North Africa Forum, professionals in Russian, Eastern European and Eurasian affairs, the MSFS Diversity and Inclusion Committee, the MSFS Service Committee, and the MSFS Debate Team. In search of knowledge, culture, and professional opportunities, MSFS student leaders have organized numerous trips to local embassies, to New York City, to the West Coast, to the Middle East, and beyond. For those student representatives and participants in these student trips, please rise and be recognized. People are still reflecting on their time at MSFS. It's great to have that moment to do that. To continue our tradition of excellence, our students are instrumental in attracting exceptional candidates, and we are welcoming a tremendously wonderful class in the fall, and we're thankful for those students who have served in that effort. So those students, think and listen here, who have served as admissions committee members, student ambassadors, admissions assistants, and those who have engaged with our prospective students, please rise and be recognized. And as mentioned earlier, we seek to recognize members of the MSFS community who have made a contribution to the academic and co-curricular goals of the program. Will the following members of the MSFS wider community please rise and be recognized? Our MSFS faculty members. MSFS and SFS staff members. Our first-year MSFS students who are here lending a hand of support. Our MSFS alumni. Somehow it gets easier to claim your recognition the further you get from graduation. That's why we asked them to sit up there. But last and certainly not least, let us take a moment to thank the friends, the family, the supporters, the friends, everyone who was an integral part in making this possible from the support from birth on. And so we thank all of you, and so I would ask that you join in thanking the family and friends who are here tonight. And all of these parts, each group that I mentioned, whether you are wearing a gown or whether you're sitting in the pews or in the top sections, we are all part of the same community that is working together to educate and grow our next generation of leaders. It is now my great honor to introduce Reverend Gregory Shendon, who is with the Society of Jesus and Georgetown's Office of Campus Ministry, to offer our benediction. Father Shendon.
Before we pray, I just got to say something. Because I am on this whole commencement circuit every year. And so I do a lot of this. And it's a privilege to be with all our various schools. We talk in terms of this whole business of Jesuit education. And what's Jesuit education? Yes, fine academic institutions, great research, occasionally good basketball teams. We pray for those things. I'm just really, really moved and consoled right now. Because one of the things about, I think, a hallmark of Jesuit education, we talk about women and men in service with and for others, right? That kind of service starts at home. And from my brief experience with all of you tonight, you don't just know each other. I think, and maybe I'm being a little audacious, but I think you actually really like and care for and about one another. And that's really at the core of Jesuit education. And for that, I'm really, really grateful, and I'm really, really proud. So in that spirit of gratitude, can we stand and can we pray? Gracious and loving God, we ask now for your loving hand to be upon these, our soon-to-be graduates, as they and their families celebrate this great milestone. May they find comfort from Georgetown's continued embrace and support as they continue their journey, their pilgrimage through life. May they find strength in the excellence of their academic preparation and the long line of the Jesuit educational tradition, for with it they join a nearly 500-year-old network of local, national, and global alumni who are their kindred companions, living out lives of service dedicated to tending to the world's needs that are not being met. We ask that you bless their lives from this day on with goodness and with authentic success. Enable them to stay true to their dreams for your greater glory, to discern what is right, what is good, what is just, and to use their gifts wisely and in service for others. Empower them to walk into the future with faith, hope, and great love, guided by your light, so that they may use their talents, their gifts to, in the words of St. Ignatius of Loyola, go forth and set the world on fire. Grace be to them, and grace be to us all. Amen.
Thank you, Father, for those beautiful words and for that wonderful closing prayer. The benediction concludes, please be seated. The benediction concludes our formal ceremony, but the party is just getting started. Okay? So, everyone here, and friends are indeed included, is invited to join us for a reception in the Galleria of the ICC because it's wet outside. So grab your umbrellas, swim over to the ICC, join us in the Galleria. There is lots and lots of food and liquid substance. And we hope you will all partake. I ask that the guests please allow the stage party and the students to depart first. And to our students, as you walk out of this beautiful hall for the last time as students, never forget, and these people will not let you forget, that you are now a part of a family. You are a part of the MSFS community, and nothing will ever change that. So, see you on the other side.